Yo, what is up, guys? Welcome back to the Game Day Show. This is your source for college sports entertainment. I'm Ethan Back, your host for today's episode. This is episode 31, and we got an exciting slot here for today of the Game Day Show. We're going to be talking about the Florida Gators Mood, LSU Miss State, the Georgia quarterback room, and our game pick. So let's get rolling, baby. Now, I want to talk about a little bit about the Gators Mood coming off last weekend against Ole Miss. Now, Ole Miss did put up a lot of points on them. Ole Miss did put up 35 against Florida, but Florida's offense was rolling. If you saw their offense, Kyle Trask had 6 touchdown passes. That just happened. I mean, Kyle Pitts had 4 of those touchdowns. Florida looked very sharper in offense. I think this is going to be a very explosive offense this year. I mean, Kyle Trask had 416 yards, 6 touchdowns. Kadarius Toney, 2 carries in his long-ass carry. And then 55 yards with him for Toney. And Pitts just put up 170 yards and 4 touchdowns. I think that Kyle Pitts looked like the best player in college football that weekend. On the other side, Matt Corral had a really good game. Watch out for this Ole Miss offense throughout the season. I think Matt Corral had a really good game. He put up 395 yards and 3 touchdowns, 1 interception though. But I think that this Ole Miss offense is exciting to watch for. But we're going to talk about Florida for now. Florida's defense did not look at par. Now, they had a lot of guys out. They had around 5 guys out. And they got their starting safety knocked out early because of the targeting call. Now, Florida's defense will progress better across the season. If you look at last year's LSU team, which a lot of people are comparing this Gators team to last year's LSU team, obviously no one's going to compare to the LSU team since the LSU team last year was way too good. But if you saw last year, LSU, Vandy put up 35 on LSU, whatever, and everyone was freaking out because LSU does not have a defense. But if you saw throughout the season, they started to get guys back. And Florida's going to get guys back soon, like they are this week against South Carolina. They started to get guys back, and then they became an elite defense. And you kind of saw it Florida last year too, and we saw it against the Miami game, and where they put up 20. But their defense progressively went up, and they became a top 10 defense in the country last year. And we saw that against Auburn. But Florida's defense can use a little work. I watched a couple press conferences. They are doing better. But Florida's offense, man, this is explosive. I mean, you have multiple guys getting catches: Grimes, Pitts, Toney, Copeland. Trent Middlemore's getting the freshman. But Emory Jones got a little banged up there. He threw a pick interception. That's pretty bad. But he did. I feel like he's getting pressured off the backside, Emory. But Emory did run the ball pretty good. As the backup quarterback. I think big things for Emory in the future. That just one play wasn't the right play for him. That first play he went in and threw that pick. And then Florida got the interception with Javon Dexter, who's looking amazing. But is Florida a national championship contender? Yes, they're ranked number 3rd in the country. Now, and that could change with Ohio State coming in, but right now Ohio State's ranked number 6, but they have not played a single game yet. So we'll see how that goes. But Kyle Trask looked better than ever. I believe they're teaching him NFL talent. He just looks good. I think this whole Florida offense is going to be very explosive. I've not said that in a long time, being a Florida fan. Evan right there had a pretty long field, 56-yard there. So I'm expecting big things from Florida there. We'll see how the progression goes throughout the Florida. They put South Carolina. I'll give my prediction later in this episode. And we'll talk about Georgia, see if they can beat Georgia later on the podcast. But, yeah, good things from Florida this week. Our next topic is LSU Miss State. Now, the media had lots of attention on LSU this year. Everyone's saying they're going to be pretty good this year, but obviously not as good as last year since they lost most of their guys to the draft. We learned before the game that Derek Stingley, their top-end defense back, one of the best in the country, was out, so maybe that hurt. But KJ Costello for the Mississippi State Bulldogs, he put an incredible show, 623 yards. That is insane. 5 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, but it maxes out at 623 yards. That is an insane stat, guys. This team is scary, Miss State. I want to see if there's a one-time shot. I want to see how they play this weekend. But Miles Brennan did not look pretty good, even though he did have 3 touchdowns and 2 interceptions. He didn't look the best. Now, this LSU teams, I believe, I think they need to relax a little, before the game, everyone was hyping them up, being like a national championship contender. They're ranked number 6 or something. And now, I mean, they lost the game. So season's not over for LSU. Obviously, they still have a long shot to make it to the college football playoffs. And at the end, you are going to say you lost to Mississippi State. But I think Terrence Marshall for LSU had a pretty good game. I mean, he put up 8 receptions, 122 yards, and 2 touchdowns. So, I mean, that is a pretty good game for Terrence Marshall. I guess that's a bright spot. But Coach Orgeron, we really saw how good of a coach he is. Like, is he that good of a coach? Or last year, did he really have the most stacked team ever? Because if they lost all these guys, right? I mean, you can't replace that good of an offense they had last year. And same with D. I mean, Derek Stingley had to sit out. I mean, due to medical reasons, not COVID related though. But I mean, he had to sit out, and I believe that put KJ Costello on the board. And it was a pretty good game though. It was a fun game to watch. Plenty of upsets in college football. I'll talk about another one right now. Let's get to Kansas State, Oklahoma. Kansas State beat Oklahoma. That was a thriller matchup. Thompson put up 344 yards and a touchdown for Kansas State. I believe that was an incredible game. If you didn't watch it, that sucks. But Kansas State upsets for, I believe, the second year in a row they upset Oklahoma. So lots of upsets in college ball this week. I love it. We're going to move on to Georgia. But I feel like LSU needs to take a step back, realize what they did wrong, maybe watch some film, and see what they can do better this weekend. Now, I want to talk about Georgia and Arkansas. Now, Arkansas did lose this one 37-10. It was a pretty big blowout for Georgia, but that first half just looked terrible for the quarterback play for Georgia. Dewan Mathis, 55 yards, 1 interception, 0 touchdowns. I mean, everyone's hyping them up. I mean, and they don't even have JT Barrett since he's not eligible yet. So, I mean, they rolled out with Stenson Barrett, 211 11 yards, 2 touchdowns. I believe they're going to start him next weekend. But they have a couple big tests coming up Georgia, and we'll see how they progress throughout the season. But that did not look good for Georgia. I mean, Stenson Barrett did have a pretty good game at the end. But D1 Mathis, come on, man, you got to do better. Jamar White, 13 carries, 1 touchdown for Georgia. Pretty good. Felipe Franks, love what he did. I think he played fantastic there for his first start against one of the best defenses in the country, I believe, in Georgia. He had 200 yards, 1 touchdown, and an average carry of 5.6. But if you're looking at Georgia throughout the road, they play Auburn this week. Now, can Stanson Bennett get it done this week against Auburn? I'll tell you my picks in a second. But this is going to be a very interesting game. I want to see how LSU manages the quarterback play. Georgia, I want to see how they manage the quarterback play. So this is going to be pretty interesting. But if you go down the road, they play Tennessee, Alabama, Kentucky, Florida, Missouri. That is a tough stretch throughout these 6 weeks now. And we'll see how they progress. Everyone's saying they're going to win the SECs. Florida's now going to win the SECs. Unless JT Barrett can come in and Stenson Barrett plays a little bit better, then maybe they can pull something off. But their quarterback play is ugly. I think they missed Jake Fromm there. But their back half in the schedule is pretty easy. And, they do play Miss State, Missouri, South Kakalaki, and Vandy. So I want to see more Georgia. Their defense was on par. Their defense is great. First half was a little iffy, but then the whole second half they played pretty good. Again, the quarterback play needs a lot better. I think that's a huge question mark in Georgia's room right now, and we'll see what happens there against Auburn against their tough defensive line. But I want to say, I think Jackson had a pretty good game for Georgia, 6 receptions, and 62 yards. But I feel like that Arkansas did play pretty good against Georgia, especially in that first half. It was kind of either way. We could have saw Arkansas get the upset, but at the end, Georgia got the win because of their defense, and Samson Bennett got that huge quarterback play. And we'll probably see him. I think he's named the starter for next week against Auburn, so we'll see how he plays. All right, let's get to some game picks. This is my personal favorite part of the episode. Let's get rolling, baby. All right, so first we have Louisiana Tech and BYU. Now, BYU is coming off a win. I think they're going to do big things. I think BYU to the win here. South Carolina, Florida. I have Florida in a landslide. I think the spread's like 18.5. I've seen them winning more than 2 touchdowns, maybe in 3, 4 touchdowns there. I think their offense is too explosive. I see Florida's defense backing back, that we talked about earlier. TCU, Texas. Texas did have a little stinger there. They almost lost. That was a pretty interesting one. Big 12 is a mess right now. I have TCU getting the upset here against Texas. Yes, I'm saying that right now. Big 12's a mess. I see Texas playing a little harder than they did last week since they almost lost. But TCU is going to get the upset there. Missouri, Tennessee. I have Missouri in this one, another upset. Tennessee, they did play pretty good. I want to see more out of their quarterback play. Garen Turner looked okay there. But I have Missouri getting the upset here. NC State, Pitt here going 4-0. Now we have North Carolina, Boston College. North Carolina is looking very strong, going 1-0. They have some games canceled throughout the stretch, but I see North Carolina getting the job done there. USF, Cincinnati. Now Cincinnati's coming off a big win. I have Cincinnati in this one. Oklahoma State, Kansas. Can Gundy get it done here against 0-2? Yes, he can. I can. Oklahoma State winning this one. Next game we have Memphis, SMU. Memphis, Mike's out of town. They bring in the new coach. I have SMU getting the upset here. They're going 4-0. They're going to also be ranked. Auburn, Georgia. Now this is the SEC game. This is one of the big time SEC games, but it's not the biggest SEC game. We'll talk about that in a second. Auburn, Georgia. I have Auburn in this one. I see Bo Nix and that Auburn defensive line doing very good. I see them beating Georgia. I think Georgia's quarterback play is a complete mess, like we just talked about. I have Auburn in that one. Tulsa, UCF. I have UCF. Their offense looks good with Dylan Gabriel there. Arkansas, Miss State. I have Miss State there. KJ Costello is just too strong for that Arkansas front. He put up over 600 yards. I see Miss State going up there. Oklahoma, Iowa State. I have Oklahoma battling back. They did lose against Kansas State, but I have Oklahoma bouncing back there. LSU, Vandy. I have LSU in this one. Vandy's just not strong at all. They're even worse than LSU, and they're the worst team in the SEC. Our game of the week presented by your North Broward Eagles is to A&M and Alabama. I have Alabama, and now this can be a closer game than people think. Mac Jones did put up a pretty good performance, so it's Kellen Mond. This should be a pretty interesting game. I do have Alabama by a touchdown and a field goal here, even though Alabama does have a 90% chance of winning. With the spread 17.5, but I think it's going to be closer than the spread is 17.5. I think Kellen Mond did play pretty good, 189. But this is the typical Texas A&M team. They're always mediocre every year, and they're a 9-win team, they're a 7-win team. Who are they going to be this year? I have Alabama winning this one, though. I think Mac Jones is too good for this A&M front. It's at Alabama. It's at Bryant Denny, so I'm super excited to see this one. Thank you, everyone, for joining us on this episode of the podcast. I'm Ethan Bass. We'll see y'all later.